If I don't have a cell phone, there ought to be a program to give me a cell phone, and by and large, there is.
Right.
If I don't have a car, there ought to be a program that helps me get a car. If I don't have a college degree, there ought to be a program that gives me the money for a college degree. And by the way, I want rent paid while I'm going to college, and I want food assistance while I'm going to college, because I certainly can't be expected to work and get good grades.
Sure.
That's the difference.
The sense that there's no limits. I mean, again, we get down to college. I mean, my dad was someone who only got to go to college. I mean, he was a very successful civil engineer. Only got to go to college because of the GI Bill. He served in World War II. He came out of high school and for 2 years did clerical work, made $10 a week, hoping to save enough money to go to college. His life was transformed by a government program, and it was a government program that he earned because he served his country.
We owed those guys.
We owed those guys, absolutely.
No
but what I'm saying is that prior to that period, and prior to the GI Bill, I think it's safe to say that college was something that only affluent people could consider. And I again, that's something that I don't want us to go back to that. I don't. But we have to. You're right. We do have to have limits on it. We can't pay for everything. But I do think that the idea that we want to provide opportunities for kids who don't have the financial wherewithal but are good students.
But who's going to stand up and even start to take that thing apart? I mean, even
that's
to take
the problem.
Even
that's
to take it down to the level you want to take it down.
Yeah.
Which is not completely. Look at here and there, a governor will take these things on, and he'll literally have to hide for his life. We don't see people in the Congress where they have to come home every 2 years willing to do it, where they face their leadership and they get told, put your ass in line. We don't see presidents do it, even though presidents may be in the best position of all to do it, because they're term limited and they have 4-year terms, but no president, no Republican, no Democrat in my lifetime has ever even dared tilt at that windmill.
And it's human nature that once somebody has something, you can't, trying to take it away from them is a very hard thing to do. And I think that if you go back to some of the arguments that were made regarding Medicare when it was first created, the idea that it would grow and grow and that it would get out of control, I mean, there's some validity to it. I support the idea of Medicare, but I think that it's obviously with people living longer and the scale of it's out of control.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Gang of Four. Come back. It's 10:43. Karen Klaus in the newsroom on KTSA. Gang of Four is here. They ducked in out of the rain to be with us. We have Lyle Larson, state representative, former city councilman and county commissioner. And we have Dan Rivas, former international man of mystery. Former, yeah. No longer up to anything. And then we have Gilbert Garcia. You've got a lot of formers too, but let's talk about the future for you. You're at PlazaDeArmasTX.com, and you've got a book coming out, you said next year?
Yeah, January.
All right, about the Texas Republican primary of 1976. Is there a working title on that? Or?
Reagan's comeback, 4 weeks in Texas that changed American politics forever.
Well, another governor is on everybody's mind these days. Rick Perry. This weekend is that event, The Response, at Reliance Stadium in Houston. And I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that this was in the works a long time ago. It may have been in the works before he entertained the idea of or saw the opportunity to run for president. I think there's no question now that he is running for president, right? Given that he's running for president, is this event a good idea, a bad idea? It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't be about politics. What's going on here?
I think the thing that could hurt him on this, I think this will either have a neutral impact or maybe even help him as far as the Republican primaries with social conservatives. I think one of the things that could hurt him here is he's basically the catalyst to this thing, but the people he's put in charge of organizing it. So there's one group, American Family Association, I think is the name of them. They have kind of a history of being very outspokenly anti-gay. I think one of their leaders a couple of years ago said that we have homosexuality was responsible for Hitler, basically. And so that's an association that I think is John Hagee is going to be up there. Rick Perry's going to be up there with him. I think that's not necessarily
He's playing with fire.
I think it's a toxic association when you come to the general election.
I mean, he's already in good standing with social conservatives, number one, and number two, Lyle Larson here is telling us that this election's not going to be about those social conservative issues. It's going to be about the economy.
I think Lyle's right. I think it was a miscalculation, probably on his part. I mean, they've only sold 8,000 tickets, and this is going to be a 75,000 seat stadium. So I mean, maybe they'll have some walk-ups, but this is not going to be the event.
Free tickets.
Yeah, it's true.
To sort of fill the spot. You got to think about it. Who is his primary opponent? It's Mitt Romney. He's Mormon. The only way that you get the social part of the Republican Party ginned up is you get the evangelicals to have a clear choice. And they really didn't like Mitt Romney. They don't like the fact that the Republicans would nominate a Mormon. And so it's very calculated in my mind that you basically have this process
You got
this
to be the
weekend.
Reverend Perry.
And basically he's broadcasting to every one of the evangelicals and folks that follow along in their churches nationwide that I'm your candidate. So I think from a political standpoint, in a Republican primary, he's trying to differentiate himself from Mitt Romney. I sure hope that is not the decision making. I hope it is focused on who is the brightest candidate. You look at it from a resume standpoint, there's only one Republican in this race that I think that has the credentials to be the CEO of this country. It's Mitt Romney. Yeah, obviously, all the things he did in the private sector and in the public sector when he stepped in, he's a brilliant guy. Maybe he doesn't have the greatest presentation, but toe-to-toe on economic policy, he's the guy I want debating Barack Obama about what's transpired over the last 3.5 years.
You know, I have to say, I have thought about the debate aspect. I think you're absolutely right about the debate aspect. If it gets down to that, if Romney gets the nomination and people are grumbling, I think they'll really love him in those debates. But he hasn't got the nomination yet, and he's certainly nowhere near getting it if you look at these polls. So is it really necessarily a bad thing that Rick Perry committed to this event? It's very unpopular. It's getting him a lot of flack, and he's still going to go. Will people like that because they'll say, hey, this is what we want in a politician. We want a guy who sticks to his guns, who doesn't flip-flop. Romney constantly shifts positions. Maybe that's a very pragmatic CEO thing to do, but maybe that's not what we want, Lyle Larson.
Yeah, well, I think from the standpoint of Rick Perry, the folks that support him, I do believe that he's religious. I mean, he absolutely believes, and he was a spiritual man. I don't think it hurts him with any of his base. I mean, the people that like Rick Perry from the standpoint
But how will
of
people who would never go to something like this, how will they look at that? Will they say, hey, he's a stand-up guy, look at all the flack, he's got the letter from the rabbis, he's still going to go? Or will they think, gee, wait a minute, I don't know about this. Seems like he's in with some shady people. Of course, that didn't hurt another guy named Barack Obama, whose minister was a pretty big millstone, and it didn't matter.
He survived it, and certainly Rick Perry could. I sort of think this will probably be forgotten in the long term, and you know, maybe get him a few votes on the Republican side. But I do think that if he makes it to the general election, it will be kind of in the background as part of what people have when they think of him. I think some independents who are maybe a little uncomfortable with that out front social conservatism, I think it could hurt him with some of those.
I just have this feeling, I can't say why, that Perry is going to be like Giuliani was, or Thompson was. Remember, there was that moment with both Thompson and Giuliani where you thought, he's arrived. The second coming, and then nowhere. They went nowhere. They so underperformed that hype. I just have the feeling there's so much hype about Perry, he's going to come way under expectations. And I don't know if Romney will be the one at the end, but I don't think it'll be Perry.
You know, Mitt Romney, he's been throwing the ball for the team for 6 years now, and the second string quarterback.
Why isn't it working for him?
Well, I think that one of his issues is the health care plan in Massachusetts and dealing with that. And people have done a pretty good job beating him up on that.
I don't think they've begun to beat him up on it yet.
Well, I think there's issues with our governor. And I was in the legislative process that we cut $15 billion, but I was one of the new members. How did we get to $25 billion short in our revenue?
Right.
You know, and you're looking at fiscal issues strictly as the litmus test for this next general election cycle. I think he's going to have a lot of explaining to do. The second string quarterback is going to step up. He's going to take that first snap, and all the opponents are going to blitz him. And then you're going to see his popularity will fall off just based on some of the fiscal issues that we've had to deal with here in this state. I mean, if we had a state that had basically a balanced revenue and expenditures, that would have been one thing. We're $25 billion short, and we saw it coming from 2006 to 2011. We took $6 billion of federal stimulus money to fill the hole, the largest take of stimulus from any other state. I think that's what his opponents will use on him.
That's his Romney camp.
And I think at that point he's going to have to do some explaining, and he'll start losing traction with people that are thinking that, well, he is, he's the Messiah. He's going to come in and save us from the pitfalls of Washington. The difference between running against Kay Bailey Hutchison as a senator, and for the governor's standpoint, he's running for that position, and he took money from Washington. I think it's not going to be a slam dunk like it was when he ran for governor because there are some issues that are going to complicate the message.
Let me ask you this, as we wrap up the hour, Lyle Larson, let me ask you, you're a Romney guy.
Right.
All right. If the Romney people called you and said, you're a very prominent Texas Republican, we need you to go around the country and talk about taking the stimulus money and TTC and Gardasil, even though you'd be running down your own governor, the man at the top of your ticket, would you do that?
Well, I think it's premature to say that because the governor hadn't announced, but I am a strong believer that we need to have somebody that can fix our problems fiscally, and I think Mitt Romney's the right
would
guy.
you be willing to go and campaign on the basis of taking the Perry record outside of Texas, telling people about it?
Well, I think that's premature at this point. Just he's a fighting Texas Aggie, and I am too. He's a Republican, so I'd have to
You'd be
sort of
hesitant
figure that.
to do that.
I would because I do like a lot of the things the governor has done, but I can tell you when it comes down to it, I'm a Mitt Romney supporter, and whatever.
Is Perry your second choice?
He would be.
All right. Well, we made a little news there, I think. We got a little something out of that. All right. Let's take the break here for news. We'll come back with a lot more from our gang on KTSA.
Dude, it's cornering me.
I know you. Karen, good morning. Gang, say good morning to Karen Klaus.
Morning.
Good morning.
She's our czarina of news. Hey, remember the guy who, the rent's too damn high guy? Remember that guy?
Yeah.
He is back. He's running for president.
Does he have any kind of slogan that we should know about?
Well, he still says the rent's too damn high. Jimmy McMillan is his name. He was great. I mean, it was just so entertaining. He's running for president now, and he's hit a bump in the road. He's being evicted from his apartment in East Village, Manhattan, because it turns out his rent is too damn low. They discovered that he's only paying, and understand only by New York standards, $870 a month. Yeah, for the East Village, that should be about 3 times that. So he says, I've been here since 1977, and they want to go up on the rent. Guy has a real grasp of finances. Doesn't think rent should go up in what is that, 34 years? Should be a rent increase in 34 years. But in any event, I guess that could be part of his campaign. Elect me president because I need a new place to live. Why not? Job comes with a house.
Yeah, it's too high.
It's time for a president with a white beard again, too. We haven't had one of those in a long time. Isn't it time? It's time. He's got that big white beard. It kind of has that very, 19th century Santa Claus look. I mean, our politicians act like Santa Claus. It's time they look like Santa Claus. All right. On the gang today, State Representative Lyle Larson is here. He's enjoying the break from the grueling legislative schedule, and planning on doing some fishing and looking forward to that Hunters show that you have coming up in August.
Right.
That's going to be at the Coliseum last weekend of
August. Yeah, come down and watch the dogs jump, and shoot the archery, drive ATV, all the great things we like to do in Texas.
Could Dan get some more camo there?
There's a lot of camo companies there for him.
Get some camo.
I don't need any more camo.
He doesn't need camo.
Okay.
It's naturally camo.